Welcome to the Sportscast from the Queen City for the Queen City, and we are your hosts, Steven and Zach, and we're going to talk a little bit about the NFL, mostly the Bengals, and a little bit of the Reds contract situations, a little bit of contract business that happened over the week, since the season ended with the Dodgers winning the World Series, and we don't have to worry about Japan invading us. Just kidding. Um, but they are very happy that Shohei Ohtani won the World Series, because they had a bigger viewer base than we had as a whole country. So
Doesn't surprise me.
it was it was some wild stuff. Um, we're gonna get things kicked off with the Bengals got right, or maybe, but they did get a win against the Las Vegas Raiders on Sunday, and a resounding win. Uh, Joe Burrow, uh, wonderful performance. Also said, "Hey, this ain't the time for celebrating. We have a game on Thursday," which he is absolutely correct. The Ravens are no joke, and a divisional
They already
opponent
lost the
that
nail biter.
and a divisional opponent that, well, currently holds the tiebreaker over them. So what did you think about the game against the Raiders?
They hold the tiebreaker.
The Ravens do currently because of the win in Cincinnati.
Oh, that makes sense. I mean, am I happy they got the win? Sure, but there's still things that happened in the game that I'm not happy with. The illegal substitution, delay a game, or not illegal substitution, but the late substitution, which led to delay a game towards the end of the game. Like, it's little stuff like that that is making me question whether we're gonna even make it to the playoffs because little stuff like that against a team like the Raiders can't happen against the Ravens. It just can't, flat out. There's other things like Jermaine Burton coming in late to a meeting, causing him not to play. Uh, Something he's a rookie, so I saw some stuff on Jamar Chase's comments about it, how it happened with him. He missed a meeting, yet he played a game. So, it happened. He said that it was the Baltimore game where he had a great game. So he said that the Bengals organization was just like, oh, it's okay, but he knows that it wasn't okay. But he said he tried talking to Burton and, he's going to leave it at that. He's going to leave it at the words he gave to him before, and he's just going to let him learn from his mistake, and hopefully he does. But it's little things like that in the season that are going to end up hurting the Bengals. We're down receivers as it was with Trent Irwin being out and T. Higgins was out, and then Eric All now tearing his ACL. We're starting to be down guys, and it's key guys where like you may not think Trent Irwin is a key guy, but he's an under the radar receiver for the Bengals. And Eric All
Um,
was starting to have a great rookie year. He was starting to pick up and get his flow, and then for him to tear his ACL, thoughts and condolences.
yes, the Bengals pass catchers are kind of dropping like flies recently, but a lot of players are getting injured this season. It seems to be an increasing trend. Joe Burrow is going to need help, obviously, for the rest of the season. With the Bengals being 4-5 on the year currently after that win against the Raiders. T. Higgins also seems to be a doubt seems to be doubtful for the Ravens game tomorrow night on Thursday Night Football. Um, and they're going to need all the help they can get. Jermaine Burton, all the messaging that I heard was that he's a grown man and uh he's he's a grown man, and that, you know, it's up to him if he wants to be successful in this league, and that seems to be pretty much the approach towards Burton. I know that, he's a rookie and all that, but the expectations for this team and for its players are pretty high, obviously. Do you think that um do you have any concerns about the Baltimore game?
Us being down T. Higgins really hurts us. It feels real bad because we had him in the last game, and one of the reasons we held with him so long. Um, he helps move the ball. You hate to see him be hurt, and I was hoping for him to get contract after the season that he deserves, but if he stays this injury prone, he just may not get the contract he wants. So. It's stuff like that where you start looking at the Bengals roster and you look at the depth at some of the positions and, especially at receiver for the Bengals, if Trenton Irwin's out again, then it's Jamar Chase, Charlie Jones, and who, realistically, if Jermaine Burton doesn't play again. Now, I'm not going to anticipate him not playing, but it's one of those things. If it's a punishment thing, you don't know how they're gonna go about it. So you just like it's one of those things that like you start looking at the Bengals wide receiver depth, and it's just not really there. So you have to think about it as a Bengals fan perspective. Like, so we're just gonna rely on Jamar Chase to get us out of situations, and teams are just doubling him, and he can't. It's hard for him to do it when he doesn't have a T. Higgins to help him get out of those situations. Mike Gesicki's come out great, but if teams start doubling Gesicki and Chase, the other receivers other than Jermaine Burton haven't really impressed me. Besides our starters, Trenton Irwin, I think has done enough from last season and so to impress me, but like the other guys we've got, I haven't seen much.
Also, the Bengals did make a in-season trade. I think the
Only
third
the
time, third
third
time,
in franchise history,
which is an insane
or at least
stat.
in this pet, like since
Nope,
last
three.
decade into this,
Nope,
something like that.
third in franchise history.
Okay.
So that's a whole lot of time to only make three trades, but it seems to be a common strategy in the Bengals organization. Obviously, they traded for Juice Herbert or Khalil Herbert, um, and he's a running back that is pretty much set to replace Zach Moss, who's down for the season, and provide a little bit of spark in the running game. Do you have uh, any expectations or any concerns with Khalil Herbert?
Probably not many concerns. I think Chase Brown's done a really good job so far filling in for Zach Moss. So I think it's one of those things you put Juice Herbert as they call him, you put him in for some plays, and if he's not able to get the explosive plays, then you let Chase Brown get a couple explosive plays, help Herbert out on the sideline if he's not picking up or if he's confused on some things, and then put him in on a play that he's confident with. I think you've got to try and mesh Khalil Herbert in as much as possible with his confident plays, and you can't call plays where he has no confidence because that's where you could run into issues of plays not coming about right, plays are not working, you're having issues everywhere. So I think the big thing is going to be you got to get Khalil Herbert in a mix with plays where he's confident since they made the trade. He's an NFL athlete, so he's going to know the playbook, but there's also going to be plays where he's not as confident and plays that he is more confident on, just with how much he's practiced and how much he's looked him over and everything. So I think you've just got to get him his plays where he's confident and let Chase Brown do a lot of the other more complicated plays.
For now, at least, especially
Yeah.
in terms of protections, and pretty much where to chip, where to know where the pressure's coming in from. That's going to be a big thing for Khalil Herbert learning the offense, but also um the final injury report for the Bengals heading into
Tomorrow night.
tomorrow's game. Orlando Brown is questionable with the knee fibula. T. Higgins is doubtful with the quad. BJ Hill is questionable with a rib, and Charlie Jones is doubtful with a groin injury.
Okay, so we get Trent Irwin back to lose Charlie Jones.
Yes. And for the Ravens side, not much. Seems like everyone's going to be there. Um, except for tight end Isaiah Likely,
Hmm.
who has been a
I was
emerg
hoping maybe
emerging pass catcher.
maybe King Henry might have needed some rest. Darn.
He never needs rest. This man could take 500 carries and still be fresh by the time for postseason happens. So I doubt it, but he's gonna present a challenge for the Bengals defense
Especially if we don't have BJ Hill.
because he's going to keep beating on the Bengals defense time and time again. And then when the fourth quarter happens, if the game is close, he's probably going to break off a big run, and it's going to break the backs of many Cincinnati Bengals fans watching the game at home that infiltrated the stadium at M&T Bank Stadium and all around the country. So it's going to be very imperative to get out on a lead against Baltimore, make sure that they're passing the football, take the ball and the game out of Derrick Henry's hands because guess what? They figured out how to use them, and Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry being in the backfield at the same time prevents a unique threat where essentially every run play is essentially a read option.
It's just like when Mark Ingram first got to Baltimore.
Pretty much, but on steroids.
It's just Derrick Henry. But when Mark Ingram first got to Baltimore, that offense was great. And then, obviously Derrick Henry's different, but it's same-ish. But they had the lead in the last game, but I think if the Bengals can keep doing what they've been doing with a lot of these teams, which is just run the clock, just drain the clock with the plays that they run, just run clock, drain clock, especially like I think the first matchup this year with the Ravens, they did a really good job running clock on them. If the Ravens didn't have much time or, they would run quick, but then the Bengals offense would be out there for a while. And it's one of those things that your offense, if they're not out there as often and they're just scoring quick, can get frustrated when the defense isn't, getting stops, which can cause the miscues that Baltimore seemed to have in the first matchup. But then also at halftime, it seemed like Baltimore made their adjustments and the Bengals just didn't. So I think if the Bengals can run clock like they've done so far, so good this season, and just keep time of possession on their side, they can get the win. Like you said, just keep the ball as oftenly out of Baltimore's hands as possible and just score more points. And you can still score a lot of points just by keeping the ball out of the Ravens' hands by running clock.
Essentially make more uh get the ball down the field.
Yeah.
Maybe not as you might not be as explosive. The Ravens defense is no slouch, obviously, but sustained drives will essentially be a key part of like the game plan.
Yep.
Also, I forgot about this, but the Ravens did acquire Deontay Johnson from Carolina,
I
uh,
forgot about that.
and they also acquired Tre'Davious White from Los Angeles. So they're going to bring. I don't think that Tre'Davious White is going to be too much of an impact on this game, but Deontay
Deontay
Johnson,
Johnson.
Deontay Johnson could provide a just another body that you have to cover. In addition to Zay Flowers and the other pass catchers that are available to Baltimore.
Well, Deontay Johnson's a big body receiver. He's built muscly, so he can fight for the ball and jump ball possession. So it's going to be tough.
He's not really a big receiver, but he is a
Not
get
tall,
open
but
receiver.
like bulky, like a big muscle receiver.
I am kind of interested to see how he uh is integrated into the offense. Especially since, you know. Lamar Jackson's not hasn't always had the best supporting cast in regards of receivers. So you can
He's
possibly
got a
see
great bailout tight end, I can tell you that much.
yeah.
Mark Andrews is, I'm surprised so far this year that they haven't used him as much in the passing game, that they've just kind of like almost feels like iced him out, except for on certain goal line plays where he's just wide open. Just kind of shocked me.
And also Bengals are going to be looking to pretty much continue their run the table strategy, especially with the games against the, you know, tomorrow's tomorrow's game against the Ravens, 10 days later, against the Chargers, then against the Steelers. Uh, they have a pretty lax schedule towards against the Cowboys, Titans, and Browns. The Broncos are a mystery, and the Steelers are the Steelers, and they're also a divisional opponent, so you never know what's going to happen there.
Steelers
And
have the second best record in the division, right?
I think so.
I
Let me
believe they're
fact.
second in the division because they were first for the long period.
They're actually currently number one.
Okay. Oh, that's right. They don't have any of their conference games until late, so they'll probably be up there for a little bit, I would assume, without
Uh,
having any conference games until later in the year,
Pretty much. They're 6-2. I
which
think
I
they
think
also
is
had
a
a bye
shock
week.
to a lot of people.
They also had a bye week, so
Yeah.
that helps them in the rankings, or I guess the standings. And they have zero divisional uh games, and they're 4-1 in the conference, with three straight wins. So they could potentially, you know, make it into the playoffs, which I wouldn't be all that surprised about. It's the Steelers.
And it wouldn't be a
Never
wild card game.
they never have a losing record, and um, also the fact that Mike Tomlin is a necromancer. I will continue to stand by that. The way he keeps bringing this team back to life over and over again, despite having a lack of talent at the quarterback position.
Is it just me, or does Russ seem like he went in a time machine and became Seahawks Russ, like early Seahawks Russ?
That's where the Mike Tomlin necromancy comes into part. There's, hey, he might be a mage, and so we we will have to see if he continues to keep Russ in his, I guess, his prime,
In his bag, yeah.
his current prime at the moment. They do have games against the Commanders, Ravens, and then the Browns, Bengals, Browns, Eagles, Ravens, and Chiefs, and then the Bengals again.
Commanders,
So they do have a rough schedule in the
I was gonna
back
say that
half.
Commanders game be pretty good.
It will, especially at a 1 o'clock spot. That's going to be a pretty high profile matchup. Jaden
Jaden
Daniels,
Daniels,
Jaden Daniels
boy's
and the
killing it.
Commanders, who have seemingly opened up their Super Bowl window as no one saw coming, obviously. But they have a chance to get absolutely obliterated with their schedule late in the season. So we'll have to keep an eye out on that.
Yeah.
Uh, it looks like a no cupcake schedule. So either they'll be even better than we think, or they'll probably fall into 9-8. Uh, Probably
And
in
then be a
the
wild card,
yeah, pretty much.
which
So
I think even then, if they make a wild card, that's a massive progress leap for the Commanders.
and they only need three more wins to have another winning season. So Steelers fans, whether you hate that being 9-8 is a bad thing, it does keep people in the seats and people somewhat interested in this football team because guess what? People don't want to see your team lose uh 17 games. So, which the
Or
Carolina
lose to
Panthers
teams like, or lose to teams that they shouldn't lose to, like the Bengals have done.
that and You could be the Carolina Panthers,
Yeah.
who are looking desperately to
They
find.
also, I saw that they had Bryce Young on the trade block, but like
They
obviously,
they got a firm no for that, and
okay.
so did Jeffrey Simmons of the Titans. People were sniffing around him. Uh, everyone knew before they even picked up the phone that the answer was no, which is another funny sentiment because it's really funny. Bad teams, good players, uh, people want to retain them, so and trade for them.
And I've
See
seen a
how
lot of talk about Bengals players, obviously T. Higgins, but I don't think T will get dealt, especially since he's injured.
well
And then
he
Trey
can't be dealt.
Hendrickson.
I mean,
Yeah,
the
franchise tag.
it's already happened. I mean, the trade deadline's already passed, but
Yeah.
I expect him to be a free agent and get paid pretty
T.
handsomely. Yeah, T. I don't expect Trey to leave Cincinnati. Currently,
Well, I
he is
think he's got the 1 year. So after this year, he's got one more year unless he gets an extension.
he probably will because he's well, quite arguably one of the best Cincinnati Bengals defensive linemen of all time, especially with the sacks. So he's currently the sacks leader in the NFL. Especially, people think he's well, not think, but he is an underrated pass rusher, especially with the likes of Nick Bosa, T.J. Watt, Myles Garrett.
He just flies
Uh,
under everyone's radar.
yep. Uh, a lot of times because the Bengals offense is usually so spectacular. Um, and we'll see how the Bengals can possibly run the table here. Uh, Still need to win 6 of 8 or 6 of 8
Yep.
uh, uh, as a more of a modified statement of what Joe Burrow said the previous week. So we'll have to see with that. The Reds had some contract business. Um, the Reds sent outright Ty France and Nick Martini to AAA Louisville. They both declined those assignments and are headed to free agency. Um, and they made a couple other moves. A few people made it off the injury list. TJ Antone uh, accepted his assignment to the Louisville Bats. Brent Suter, he elected free agency, but he's back with the team. Um, Nick Martinez, Jacob Junis. Already mentioned Nick Martinez, but Jacob Junis also elected free agency. Austin Wynns got activated from the 60-day injury list. Luke Maley was also elected free agency, and then a couple other activations from the injury list includes Graham Ashcraft, Brandon Williamson, and Stuart Fairchild. Uh, Do you have any thoughts about any of these transactions that happened from the Reds?
Um, the one that I don't like more than the others would be the Jacob Junis one. I was kind of hoping they'd keep him, even if it was for just like a year or like a 2 year deal with a 1 year club option or something. Because I thought when they brought him in, he performed really well. They just, it's just one of those things. He was a trade and he performed pretty well. I pressed by him. I didn't think that they would let him walk, but here we are. I'm surprised by Luke Maley. Uh, Even though like part of me feels like I shouldn't be surprised, but I am. Just because he's been with the organization for so long, I just don't expect him to go into free agency. And I think I really would have preferred Ty France to stay, but it is what it is. Um, I'm gonna leave it into Terry's hands. It's all up to him. I'm gonna let him do his thing. He's won 2 World Series, so obviously, he knows what he's doing. I'm not gonna make any judgments yet. We aren't even close to the start of the season yet, so reserve all judgments until the season gets underway and we see what he does.
I will say that they do have a prospect in single A currently, uh, but he's not. His ETA is currently in 2028, so he's probably not going to be a answer for the Reds. They could look to find a veteran catcher at the position, which wouldn't be all too bad. I think that from a catcher's perspective, or I guess a team perspective, the team kind of wants to get, I guess maybe even maybe younger or just more. I guess maybe they just trust Tyler Stevenson um to step into an even bigger role this year. So I'm kind of looking forward to that, especially with his newly found mojo that he
Yeah.
found later in the season, obviously becoming a father. So that could be an interesting thing. There's going to be some interesting things that they deal with a lot of the position players. That includes Spencer Steer, CES, Matt McLean,
Espinal.
Espinal. Uh, where does Jamer fit in into this lineup? Novi Marte. Does he, get sit down? Does he get, what do they do with him? And how they can kind of restructure this outfield to be uh, better than subpar.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. I
So,
think it's to the point now where Reds fans are just kind of fed up with, you know, the 50-50 performances and not, and then certain times where the team just isn't performing well, but they know that there's talent to do more than what they're doing. So I think
yeah.
it's all going to be about like, show us that our talent is as good as we know it is. And I think if he can do that, then we'll be fine. Which again, I fully trust the man to do it. He's won two World Series, and obviously he knows what he's doing if he's won two World Series. So hopefully we can get a World Series here in Cincinnati, and hopefully Ellie and the guys that are there now can do it.
Also, want to mention that the Reds' 40-man roster is currently at 36, so it leaves them some room to add players without having to drop them down or send them down to the minors straight off the bat. So that's something to keep an eye on, and maybe we see some more exciting prospects in the coming, season. Obviously, we need that. We need to see some improvement pretty much all across the board. Also in the starting pitching, obviously them getting hurt, but I think things are going to be somewhat exciting with Edwin Arroyo like a week or so ago. Uh, he's the Reds' number three prospect, and he was uh slashing 370, 393, and 481 in the Arizona Fall League. So it seems like he's playing very well, and hopefully he can continue that um, throughout and carrying it into spring training, possibly even earning you know, a roster spot. So we have that going for him, and also Luis May also has a straight up zero ERA uh, through a couple of starts in fall league, or
Huh.
yeah, three starts rather. So he seems to be dealing, and which can be very exciting. Uh, Connor Phillips has uh, also had a dominant season debut, so we'll see how things go from there. And
So, Juan Soto, do we know if he's going to be a Yankee for life or what's he doing?
Um, he's taking offers from all 30 teams. Uh, I don't know if the Reds will sign him, but Terry Francona might be able to convince ownership, but they're going to have to really show
Move some money and
show on that this team is ready to win, essentially.
yeah.
Uh, there was also a few posts there was a post from LaFlorence Y'alls,
I did see the y'all's post and it gave me a good laugh.
and so it'd be interesting if he joined the Florence Y'alls. Obviously, I don't think their paychecks their pocketbooks are deep enough. I
No.
don't even think Florence and like as a city can pay him, so we'll have to see where he lands. Uh, Garrett Cole also wanted to leave the Yankees, but it seems like they might add another year of to his contracts to keep him from leaving. And so
I could can you blame them?
we'll see what happens with the Yankees. The Yankees are they're always penciled together. Like they're always kind of just stitched together.
Yeah. The Yankees have money, the Reds don't. That's the bad side. That's the bad part of the MLB.
Well, that and the Dodgers are also a possibility for every
Yeah.
player. So, you know, they might have, a $700 man and a $500 man or whatever Yamamoto is making. They have enough money to pay, Mookie
Yeah.
Betts and, Will Smith. It's been a good 4 years to be Will Smith.
Yeah.
Obviously not all of them being the same person, obviously, but two different Will Smiths won four straight World Series. So we'll see
One
if
of
that
them was
trend.
with two different teams, three different
Uh,
teams.
one was with I think the Rangers, not the
Yeah.
Rangers. Yeah, the
Yeah. One
Rangers.
was the Rangers, and I can't remember the Royals. The Royals and the Rangers.
Nope, nope, not the Royals. It was I think it was the Astros.
You're right. It was the Astros. Yeah. That's funny. Yeah, it was the Astros.
So if you're looking to bet on a World Series winner,
Dodgers again.
this is not financial advice. I will stress that this is not financial advice, but vote for a team, but put your money down on a team that has Will Smith on it.
Yeah. That's not bad. That's not bad advice. But again, hey, we're not financial advisors. We don't advise listening to us for that stuff.
Yeah, this is not a financial podcast.
No.
We obviously are not here to sell you on supplements and something like that. So we're not going to sell you supplements, or a book or really any other weird consumer good.
I think the
I'm not going to
last
say any
thing,
good, but I'll just say we're not going to sell you supplements. You're not going to be able to get big muscles from watching this channel, but
yeah.
but you might have big muscles if you are watching this channel. So that'll be it for
I
this episode
think
for this week.
before we get off, just a couple CFB games.
That's right.
Michigan and Indiana, big game. Georgia, Ole Miss, and where was the other? LSU, Alabama.
I will leave this note for the listeners. Uh, the current CFP rankings.
Yes.
Uh, I will say that in just a second. Uh, I'm going to start from 25 all the way to 1. Army, Missouri, Clemson, Louisville, Washington State, Colorado, K-State, Pittsburgh, Iowa State, Mississippi, LSU, Texas A&M, uh, and SMU, all are not in the college football playoff, but the 12 teams that are, Boise State, from uh 12 all the way to 1, Boise State, Alabama, Notre Dame, BYU, Indiana, Tennessee, Penn State, Texas, Miami, Georgia, and Ohio State. with Oregon being the number one seed, and
Boise State's got
also
Michael Myers in the background, man. I don't know who's going to beat him.
the bracket was revealed yesterday as
Oh,
well. Um, with the teams with a bye currently Oregon, BYU, Miami, and Georgia, with the matchups 8-9 being Indiana, Tennessee,
ooh.
5-12 Ohio State, Boise State, 6 and 6-11 Texas and Alabama, and 7-10 Penn State and Notre Dame. So currently
Oh,
these rankings
golly.
are fluid, so keep in mind
I mean,
uh
as it stands right now,
Ohio State
that's
is currently ranked number two in the CFP, but is would be number five because they wouldn't get the bye from not being Big Ten champion. Obviously, they would have
again,
to
like you said,
or an
fluid.
Oregon loss. So BYU gets the bye and pushes everyone down. So uh them and Miami. So that'll be it for this week's episode. So leave a like, subscribe, comment, what
Let
do
us
you
know your
think?
thoughts on the CFB bracket so far.
You know, do you think that, you know, that Ohio State can stop Michael Myers himself? Um, Also comment, do you think Indiana can finish undefeated? And also, do you think Georgia deserves to be number two? So that's it.
Personally, no, but
So that'll be it. So see ya.